And welcome back to Death Battle, Hulk versus Godzilla. We never really thought, when they announced that they were going to do this one, we never really thought about this, I think, very often. But, yeah, look, it's a pretty good episode. So now, as normal, I don't do the reactions anymore, mostly because I can't sync it up well. There's a lot of lag. So instead, we're just going to look at it as the fight itself. But I did, first off, I thought the analysis were good. They were different too. The longer we go on with Death Battle, the more lore and stuff comes out for individuals like Godzilla and like Hulk. So basically, the fact that they're both essentially immortal, both had like a reactive, adaptive capabilities. I do like the fact too they composited Godzilla into all versions, so reactive evolution, singular point, which is insane. Yeah, so let's just break this down. Oh, hold on one second. I'm gonna so I don't get flagged. I like the fact it starts with Godzilla. Now I'll stay right out the gate. I was a little iffy on the models for both Godzilla and Hulk. It's particularly Hulk. Like, I look at Hulk's model, I'm like, what model? But they're going clearly more with, say, the Ultimate Avengers Assemble Avengers, the cartoon version. They're going a little bit more with that design. And obviously with Godzilla, they're going with singular points. Not singular point. They're starting with -1's design, which is all good. It's fine. I like the fact that it's just an initial scuffle. If the start of the fight is a little shaky, I will say. Especially because Godzilla's the footsteps don't have the weight behind them I would like to hear. And again, the farther we go on with this Hulk, the more I'm okay with him. I had to adjust with Hulk, but it was still fine. And obviously, as Hulk's kind of just manhandling, running around Godzilla, going up. I did enjoy a lot of this, but it's the early fight. I knew the minute he did this, which I thought was damn. But I knew Godzilla. We all knew Godzilla was not dead. I like the fact too they incorporated Banner in this. But to be fair, I am a little iffy on the resolution of this fight. And I'll get to that when we get to that. But I do like the fact that they do talk about how Hulk and Banner do kind of fight for control a lot. And Hulk's like, no, Hulk stays. And I thought this shot's great. This shot is so good. Because he not only looks, he not only does the -1 style attack, and we get the -1 style atomic breath, which looks so damn good. And still looks so good right in there. It's not as good as the movie version, but still. They gave us a little bit of GMK Godzilla too in that with the glowing eyes. That was great. Also, I'll say this. I scar the world's a good line. But this actually might be the best looking World Breaker Hulk has looked. In the original Doomsday versus Hulk, I mean, again, that's so early in Death Battle, you got to give it some leeway. It's not amazing, but it looks fine. It looks a little better in Broly versus Hulk. It looks fine in Broly versus Hulk. But no, this is the one that maybe it's because they got the budget now. Maybe it's because they're using a different model, it's different style. Something about this one looks really good. Really good. And I just like the fact he punches Godzilla in the face, breaks his head. He just regens. That looks good. Godzilla basically is about to nuclear pulse him right off his body. I like the fact that Hulk, I do like that too. Falls on his back, uses the pulse to throw him back up. That's really good. Then basically uses an atomic pulse to just blast his ass off. And then again, Hulk clapping back to get back to the ground is so good. Only to be met with the red spiral ray that's really damn good. That's really creative. This is kind of the stuff you want to see in a fan-made fight. And then obviously, when we got to this moment here, where we get the husk of the defeated Godzilla, we all knew that was not the end of the fight, not by a damn mile. But the fact that he did that much damage to Godzilla, stupid lizard, and then it was impressive. And then we go into the singular point Godzilla, all that, and he just blasts Hulk with a level of power so great that even Hulk was literally just obliterated. And he literally just has to go through the green door to, oh, and then there's, I hate when the ads pop up. And then we have to the green door. Now, evidently, thanks to, future stuff we learned, or more modern comics, I guess, we learn more about the One Above All, and that the One Above All is not actually a separate entity to the Hulk, or sorry, separate entity to the One Above All, is actually essentially the One Above All's Hulk, and it exists in the lowest dimensional level possible. So, and then we got obviously the red door, and Hulk just smashing through that through his just sheer power and rage. I will admit, by the way, I will admit real quick, when we talked about like the things the Hulk has been able to do, like breaking the firmament chain or something like that, which is like part of the multiverse and all that, I'm starting to think like, dear God, Hulk's been scaled up recently. All of them, it does again. As long as comics keep going, they will keep scaling these guys up. But then we got to like Singular Point Godzilla and everything he can do. I'm like, okay, this is nowhere near as cut and dry as initially thought. But then we get the red tornado, mist of blood, the archetype coming out. Hulk just like wondering, like, what is this? And Banner even analyzing it, recognizing what it kind of is. And then there's Singular Point Godzilla. Like he's just there's like, bring it. And then we see Hulk basically was killed. And it has probably been killed multiple times at this point. That's the thing, we have no idea between now and when Hulk was fighting Godzilla. How many times has he died? Plus, I like the fact that the reporter gets chopped. But this is where this is where there's a little contention for me about this fight. By the way, love seeing that. That looks fan-freaking-tastic. I do like that Banner's genius was a part of this, absolutely. And I like the fact, too, that because of the causality manipulation of Singular Point Godzilla, it's not an instant KO for him. Like, Banner has to continually, like, do the math, look for it, how many times they got to go through this. And eventually, it's just, as he said, I just need, it's like 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000, 1 in a million, 1 in a billion, 1 in a trillion, so forth. I just need one chance. And then obviously there's the acausal being, the like Eldritch horror shot we get here, which is really good, and Hulk smashing through that is pretty good. It's pretty good. But here's the problem I have with this fight. This is actually the biggest problem I actually have with it. And I don't care that Hulk won. I honestly I kind of wanted Godzilla to win because I love Godzilla, but I fully acknowledge Hulk should probably have won the fight. Up until you gave a Singular Point, and then like, ooh, maybe not. But in the other two fights, you never once included Banner in the fight. Now, again, things have come to light and all that, and so forth and so on. I like the fact they pretty much said between immortality, power, they're pretty much tied. But between Gamma and Archetype and Banner's intelligence, Godzilla loses. And that's fine, except I feel like, again, maybe this is just with more modern context or whatever. But why were you including Banner in the first two fights? Was that not relevant? I mean, because here's the thing, maybe it's not relevant to those previous fights, but why is it now relevant to this fight and not the other two fights? That's, I think, the problem I have with that. It's like, if you're going to throw Banner into the mix, you do have to make a kind of explain at least your rationale. Maybe they will in like the casting, not the casting couch. I don't know what they call it, but basically when they kind of break down the fights and all that, maybe they'll explain the reasoning of why they included Banner in this time and not in the other times. Because honestly, based on this, like, Hulk should have beaten both Doomsday and Broly, like, based on this. So, but Broly, by all accounts, seems to be far more powerful in raw power alone. And Doomsday's adaptability overwhelmed the Hulk. But this was before we had like, hey, puppy, stop. No pause. I'm loving you. This is obviously probably, they did Doomsday and Hulk long before the Green Door and the One Below Wall actually, came about. And then they did Hulk and Broly around the time that, once we learned about the green door and the one below all, but also it was one of those scenarios where we still hadn't learned the true nature of it. So more information came about. But why again aren't you including Banner in those discussions then? Why is this the fight where Banner now becomes relevant? Because I'm going to tell you right now, based on what we saw in the last two fights with Hulk, if you're not including Banner in this fight, Hulk got his ass whooped. There was no way Hulk actually should have won that fight if Banner wasn't involved. But because they decided to throw Banner in there as well, and you stop the pause. Are you just that desperate for y'all? Oh, you need to stop the pawing. Stop the pawing. But because they threw Banner in there, he had a means of beating Godzilla. It just happened to be that it took trillions of times doing so to finally do it. But still, because they included Banner, he could actually win. So, I don't know how I feel about that. Again, like I said, more modern context, more information that gets revealed, we learn. It does change how we have to look at the characters when we put them in a new fight. I get that. I respect that. I'm not angry with that. I just find it weird that Banner was only relevant now and not in the other two fights. I'm not saying they rigged it in Hulk's favor. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is it's either got to be Hulk. You either have to always just do Hulk, or you do have to do them both. You got to pick one or the other. That's really what it comes down to, for me anyway. But still, good. It started a little clunky for me, but man, did it really kick off after that. Like the first few the first like 30 seconds to 40 seconds, a little clunky for me in terms of the combat, and I had to use the Hulk's design. But otherwise, I dug it. And then we got the next one, which you will not be getting a prediction video of because I have that already. I believe this is the 200th episode. We got Ruby versus, what was her name again? Ruby versus Maka. That was it. Now I've already done a prediction video of this. You can go and find that video in the prediction playlist. And by the way, that guy, if you find the discussion that was being had from the idiots, feel free to comment about how much of an idiot that idiot was being. About the guy who said, "How dare you, mate? How dare you trick people into thinking this is the real death battle?" To which no one else was saying that. And even people were calling us like, he's just like, "No, you're making, be better." I'm like, you can read a damn title, right? Hell, you can look at a damn thumbnail with my face in there, right? You can read a channel, right? Are you just trying to start shit for no reason, or are you actually that effing stupid? I need to know, because you need to get your head examined. Either way, that's my thoughts on this death battle, though. It was a good death battle. Hey, look, as far as the 3D death battles go, this was frankly better than, like, say, Kratos versus Azura. Quite frankly, Kratos versus Azura probably is the weakest death battle of the entire new series of season of Death Battle, or just the new run of Death Battle. The we own this property now run of Death Battle. It is probably the weakest one, and that doesn't make it necessarily a bad video. It still looks good in many ways. Like when Azura is like in full deity mode, I'm like, that looked freaking incredible. But it is that's just a clunky fight all the way through. Whereas this, I feel, just kind of started a little choppy. Not even choppy, just started a little off for me. But then it really was able to get its stride and be like, no, this is really freaking good. So man, this is another banger. Except for Azura versus Kratos, I don't think there's been a straight out disappointing episode of Death Battle since it's come out. Hell, why don't we just, since we're now done with this, boop, what? No, I don't need a full screen. Come back. No, I don't need full screening. I went into studio mode, I think it was. What is it? Yeah, theater mode. So actually, let's just take a look at the Death Battles right now and see what we're dealing with in terms of Death Battle. What? I don't need Death Battle reaction. What the hell? I want Death Battle the channel. Why did that happen? I have no idea. So yeah, let's go to Death Battle. Just see what we've got, what we've had so far for the Death Battles themselves. Let's see here now. Oh yeah, come back. God, I hate when things are like kind of loading and like they keep jumping around. Okay, so let's actually take a quick look at all the death battles that have come for this new season. Uh, so starting from Bardock versus. Oh, come on! What the hell? Like, what is going on with this damn computer right now? Because no, that's not it. Okay, seriously. Okay, we started with Omni Man versus Bardock, a really solid opener. Really solid. I still don't agree that Omni Man should have won that based on what they were doing, but really solid opener. Then they gave us Joker versus Giorno. I think that's one of the lesser fights as well, but I don't think that's a bad fight. It doesn't help that I'm not really a big fan of either franchises. Then obviously Bowser versus Eggman, freaking like not. It might be the best thing that one of the not just the best death battle this season, one of the best death battles they've ever done. It has got to be in the top 5 consideration, at minimum 10, and they've done hundreds of these things now. Among Us versus Fall Guys is an underrated episode. That is like legitimately fun. Like I said, Kratos versus Asura looks nice with the CG, but that's you want to talk about a clunky fight all the way through. Spawn versus Ghost Rider, actually a pretty fun fight. Shigaraki versus Mahito, that was a really good fight too, actually. It was hand-drawn, like that. Master Chief versus Doomslayer, I've heard a lot of people were a little off on this one. I like it. I think it looks good. And I think it's actually pretty well interpreted for a rematch. Kyle versus Simone is also another banger. Coyote versus Tomcat, like that's that is way better than that any right to be. Miles versus Deku. Again, I've heard some people not love this one, but I thought this was actually a pretty good fight, all things considered. And I mean, God, looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. And then, like I said, Godzilla versus Hulk. It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. Starts a little shaky, but ends pretty strong. So overall, yeah, I mean, I think they're doing a really good job now that they got full ownership and they got their own staff. You'll notice too, this took an extra week to come out. If you actually look at the timing, normally it's about every 2 weeks. Actually, no, it's about every 3 weeks because you get you have when a death battle comes, then you have I think like a week in between, and then you have the each week the breakdown, then the final match. Yeah, they've been doing this at a rate about once a month, which you know what? That's fine. Absolutely. I can live with that. Anywho, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.